All right, we are back. Had some technical difficulties there. Stream dropped off, but with that, we are back live here. Quick recovery time from me. Hopefully, we will not nuke the stream again. So fingers crossed on that one. That being said, not quite sure where we left off, so I'll repeat my spiel since it's rather early anyway. We'll still have folks trickling into the stream. With that, both of these players here, Sean, repeat tournament player. Alan, this is his second GT, but he's been to a fair few events, so we have a bit of a tournament regular as well as an unknown quantity on the table here. So we're in for a interesting matchup here, two very interesting armies as well as a battle plan on which aspects of it favor each army that's on the table in their own unique ways. So definitely curious to see how things pan out here. That being said, I do want to jump back into the armies. Sean is going to be piloting the Big Wa faction. This is a conglomerate faction of orc units that pulls from the unit selection of all three orc armies. That is Kruleboyz, the Sneaky Orcs, Iron Jaws, the armor-clad and very brutal, muscly, testosterone-fueled orcs. The best ones, if you ask me. And then, of course, the Bone Splitter sub-faction, oft neglected by Games Workshop, but home to the Wargog Prophet, which is one of the most egregious criminals in Age of Sigmar. So Sean here is piloting a army that is built on stacking additional... Oh, we have a guest appearance from Sean. Sean, do you want to say hi to the folks back home? Offer a wave.
Hi to the folks back home.
They can't see you, though. You're not on camera.
That's probably for the best.
He said it is for the best. He said they do not want to look at my ugly mug this early in the morning. But that being said, Sean is piloting a list that is reliant on using a number of support heroes to drum up WA points. These will create stackable buffs that he will use to enhance some of the war scrolls throughout his army to make his army hyper efficient in combat, at casting, more mobile. It offers a lot of versatility. Not only that, the Big Wa sub-faction has access to a number of very consistent and powerful grand strategies that he can use to consistently score those 2 extra points each battle round. Combine that with an army that has a large footprint and plenty of objective play, and it is a force to be reckoned with in terms of scoring path. That being said, jumping into Sean's unit selection here, his general is the Weird Knob Shaman, which is a bit of a staple in this GHB for Big Wa. The Weird Knob Shaman is an Iron Jaws single cast shaman who has the Shaman of the Chilled Lands command trait in Sean's list here. This is giving him access to the Frost lore from this general's handbook. That's going to allow the Weird Knob Shaman to cast Hoarfrost, enhancing the quality of Sean's units in combat, be it their to hit, wound, or rend characteristic, or threatening the 12-inch bubble of Merciless Blizzard. We have seen Blizzard occur on stream in the past day, so curious to see if that comes out to great effect here again. Slaves to Darkness, an army that has a fair few mortal wound wards built into it. So we'll see how things work there. And then from his spell lore, Sean has chosen the Great Big Green Hand of Orc. This is a wonderful bit of orc magic where a giant green hand comes down from the heavens, picks up your orcs, and carries them to God knows where, outside of 9 inches of your opponent's game pieces. So this is something that Sean can use to great effect in the late game to score his grand strategy. It allows him to threaten anywhere on the board effectively with his units. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the battle traits for the Big Wa army that they benefit from that makes this so potent. Moving on from there, we have the Wargog Prophet, who is a slot machine of a model. The Wargog Prophet gets a freebie roll, and then on a 3 or better, Sean is going to deal D3 mortal wounds to his opponent on a roll of a 1 or 2 beyond the freebie roll. So if he'll get the freebie, he'll do his D3, and he can choose to continue until the model that he's targeting dies or the Wargog dies. Subsequently, each of these is going to do D3, or if he rolls a 1 or a 2, he'll be taking D6 mortal wounds on the Wargog Prophet. So Sean paying 170 points here to take a gamble on potentially wiping out a large game piece with the Wargog Prophet. Sean, the unluckiest man in Warhammer, so curious to see how this piece performs for him today. He does have the glowing tattoos artifact to stack the deck in his favor. This enhances the 6++ on the Wargog Prophet to a 4+. So although it is a slot machine, it is a bit more of a consistent one than you would anticipate finding at your local casino. Sean's taken Hoarfrost on the Wargog Prophet, which, as I said, for the Weird Nod Shaman, the Shaman of the Chilled Lands is going to offer him opportunities to enhance his units. That being said, Sean bringing a pair of Orc War Chanters, Ironjaw's Orcs, that have a pair of War Beats. These are consistent buffs that they can put out on 3+, one of which is the Get 'em Beat. It is a 3d6 charge, and one of which is the Fixing Beat, which is a d3 heal. Going off the majority of the time throughout the game, these are going to allow Sean to A, get where he needs to be in the case of the Get 'em Beat. 3d6 charge is very powerful when combined with some of his other WoW buffs, as well as the Fixing Beat is going to give him some of that longevity that he needs to push through the game with his combat army. Lastly, Sean is carrying Gobsprak with him, or rather, maybe Gobsprak is going to be carrying Sean with him. Gobsprak is a 2-cast wizard that is an anti-caster. He knows the Cruel Boys lore, which allows him to place tons of debuffs. He can turn off wards. He can give -1 to attacks. He can give himself a hero phase move, which we've seen is incredibly powerful in the first round, piloted by the Cruel Boys. Not only that, Gobsprak is able to inflict mortal wounds on an unbinding roll of 10+, and once per game can do a 3d6 unbind. He also benefits from the big WoW traits, which later in the game will give him an additional +1. So Gobsprak is an incredibly powerful anti-caster. Moving on to Sean's battle line here, he has made the unique choice of bringing 2 sets of the brand new ArgBoys. These are 2 wound, 3-up save models. They are stockier than they once were. He is arming them with the ArgBoy Choppas, which is going to give them a +1 to their attacks characteristic on the charge. But otherwise, just a nice solid brick of 20 wounds on a 3+ save. Very sturdy. They are going to put in a lot of work for Sean as effective. Difficult to get past screens with a fairly large footprint. Moving on to the Brutes. These are incredibly useful against a number of armies, and they are a source of rend for Sean. They are a hammer, and also a fair share of wounds as well, being a 30 wound brick on a 4-up save. 10 of these are going to output a lot of damage. They almost have the same profile as the Gorgrunthas minus the mounts. So if you are familiar with the Auric Gorgrunthas, which we'll talk about in a minute, just think of the riders and how much damage they can output with the -2 rend. Now, all of these brutes are armed with the Jagged Gore Hakkas, aside from some of the unit leaders, 2 of which have Gore Choppas, 1 have a Boss Choppa, but effectively these are all going to be -2 weapons that are going to allow Sean to pierce through high armor saves and chip damage into his opponent's army. That being said, at a baseline, all of these units are, or the ArgBoys and the Brutes, are damage characteristic 1, and so they will benefit greatly from the War Chanters that I mentioned previously. The War Chanters have a buff that they can apply to a unit wholly within 15 inches. That is a +1 damage until the following hero phase. Although he can't stack this on the same unit, Sean is going to be able to place this on the Brutes, the ArgBoys, and some of his other units for great effect to amplify his damage and tear through units with great wound density. That being said, Sean has 2 remaining units, that is 6 Brute Ragers and 6 Gorgrunthas. These 2 units are very similar in that they are fast, mobile hammers that Sean is going to be able to use to threaten various aspects of the board. I had mentioned the Great Big Green Hand of Gork earlier on, but the Great Hand of Gork is going to allow Sean to teleport a unit. In doing so, Sean has a command that he has access to from the Ironjaw's rule set. That's Mighty Destroyers. This one's got a few conditions, so I'm going to walk through this one rather slowly here, but effectively by issuing this command, Sean's able to do one of 3 things. If he is within 3 inches, he can make a pile-in the hero phase. This command's issued in the hero phase. If he is within 12 inches, he must make a charge, and then if he is outside of 12 inches, he can make a normal move. This allows Sean to double move his Iron Jaws units, all of which, for the foot troops, except the Gorbrenzas, which are much faster, they are mounted on these Savage Pigs. They only move 4 inches, so doubling that, 8-inch solid movement characteristic. He's going to be able to move them up the board, but the other thing that Sean can do is he can teleport using the Great Freeing Hand of Gork, a unit outside of that 12-inch restriction, and rather than charge, he can issue the Mighty Destroyer's command. The Brute Ragers being elite, they can self-issue commands, and the Gorbrenzas having a unit boss that can issue the command, and he'll be able to move them forward, getting them even closer than the normal 9-inch restriction will allow, and then making a charge in the charge phase from that advantageous position. With the Gorbrenzas particularly, who move 9 inches, he can get to the 3.1-inch mark from his opponent's units, and with a charge bonus from the Big Wall battle traits, he can guarantee a charge, even on the roll of Snake Eyes with a +1, which is incredibly powerful. That being said, I do just want to talk a little bit more about Big Wall before we dive into Alan's army a little bit more. Players are working their way through their deployments. So Big Wall, as I said previously, is a faction that is going to produce stackable buffs to enhance all of these troops. During the hero phase, Sean is going to roll a d6 for WA points. He is going to get 1 point for having a Bone Splitters unit. That is his Wargog Prophet, and he will get 2 for having a War Chanter on the board. Note that he will not receive 4 points for having 2. He just receives 2 for having a singular War Chanter. That being said, when he completes a charge, he will also score a WA point. At the end of the combat phase, he will get a WA point for each Orc unit that is engaged with an enemy unit. And in addition to that, he also has a heroic action he can take in the hero phase, where he will try to beat the battle round on a single die roll, and if he does, he will gain WA points equal to that battle round. So definitely a lot of ways to generate points here, but those buffs increase from a +1 to run, a +1 to charge, a +1 to cast, unbind, and dispel, then +1 to hit, wound, and then at the top end is the WA itself. This is an incredibly powerful ability that Sean can use in either combat phase that will allow him to give +1 attacks army-wide. The real benefit there is not the fact that he retains all of the prior buffs while he is flying, so he will still be +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 attacks. It is going to allow him to put out a lot of force in combat. So see what happens there. The other thing that Big Wah can do is hold their points, and on 30 Wah points they have a battle tactic that they can score simply for existing and having this mechanic. Notably, this is a battle tactic that you can even score while tabled. So Big Wah can even score beyond the point of having miniatures on the board. Really interesting situation there. There's a handful of other battle tactics we'll talk about shortly, but with that, I do want to dive into Alan's list. He is running a Slaves of Darkness list, and although we did have Slaves of Darkness on the stream yesterday, this is a different list. The one that we saw piloted by Ray Squires yesterday was a Kabbalist list. This is a Slaves of Darkness hosted the Ever Chosen list. This is going to give him 1 extra Ensorcel banner. We talked about those a little bit on stream yesterday, but we'll get back to those as we get to the units in which they are applied. And also a 5+ rally on Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors, and Chaos Chosen models. We saw it yesterday, the power of the rally mechanic, Oscar rallying in Morghast on stream, ripping the 6 in his hero phase. That being said, 5+, much easier than a 6+, especially when you're applying it to large units, giving you ample opportunity to revive a lot of models. Moving on from there into the leaders, Alan is running Be'lakor. We'll talk a little bit about the power of Be'lakor and the way in which Be'lakor can play the priorities. But he is a 2-cast wizard. He is a Furial, which means that his save is not modified. So he'll be able to shrug off any Ren coming his way. He does have a somewhat respectable combat profile on paper. He is not the punchiest, but often he noodle arms and he does 0 damage. So maybe we'll see some of that here. Be'lakor known for having a ramen noodle sword. So we'll see what he was able to put out in combat here. For spells, Alan has elected to take the Binding Damnation spell. This is a casting value 7 spell where within 12 inches, he will be able to apply the Strike Last debuff into one of Sean's units. So super powerful here. One thing that Big Wad does not have, that the Iron Jaws book does have, is a mechanic where they can have units fight one after the other. Smashing and bashing is incredibly powerful. It allows Iron Jaws players sometimes to activate their entire army in a single go before the opponent moves. Big Wad does not have that. Their activation control is not the same. So, with that in mind, Binding Damnation is going to put a damper on Sean's plans in the combat phase if it goes off. In addition to that, Alan is bringing a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with the Mark of Slanesh. We'll talk a little bit about the Mark of Slanesh shortly when we get down to some of the battle line. But also, like Sean's General, packing the Shaman of the Chilled Lands command trait. This is going to give him access to the Hoarfrost spell, allowing him to modify his units. So we will see how that comes into play here. It can make many of the units on Alan's side incredibly powerful. Perhaps we'll see it come down on the Chaos Chosen here. One thing we saw yesterday when we watched Slave to Darkness versus OCR Bone Reapers was the Chosen struggling to break through the 2-up save of the... name escapes me at the moment. Not the Necropolis Stalkers, the other Samurai skeletons, whose names I should remember because they have traumatized me on many an occasion, but with the applied debuffs, or rather buffs to their armor save, they enhanced, yes, the Immortus Guard, thank you chat for the assist. They were on a 2-up, and the Chosen bounced off them repeatedly. They were stuck for several turns. In this case, Hoarfrost enabling Alan to amp up the rend on the Chosen potentially and mow through some of those higher armor saves, although Sean's units are not quite as sticky as the ones that we saw from Oscar yesterday. That being said, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is also packing the Chaos Familiar Artifact, which is going to give him a once per game bonus cast. Incredibly powerful here with the bonus of the Shaman of the Chilled Lands command trait. Not only that, the Chaos Familiar spell can be any spell from the Lore of the Damned. So definitely a lot of versatility packed into that artifact. It is once per game, but if used correctly, it could create a lot of advantage in the hero phase. And then lastly, he has chosen the Demonic Speed spell, which we also saw yesterday, which permits a 3d6 charge on a casting value of 7 to a unit greater than 12 inches of the caster. That being said, this unit is incredibly important for Alan. Alan has elected to take the Spellcasting Savant Grand strategy, which is going to force him to try to keep this unit alive throughout the game. With that, jumping into Alan's battle line, he has a reinforced unit of Varangard with the Nurgle Mark, unlike the ones we saw yesterday on stream, which had the Corn Mark to enhance their attack's characteristic on the charge. These Varangard are going to be -1 to wounds, so they will be incredibly sticky, and they are armed with 6 Fell Spears. These are going to give them +1 to wound and rend on the charge due to an ability on the Varangard War Scroll. As I mentioned yesterday, the Varangard can activate twice, and notably on the second activation, they do not receive Fights Last, unlike the Chaos Chosen, so that is incredibly useful as well. Also very tanky, 3-up save, 5 wounds a pop, and also with a 4+ ward against mortal wounds. Really notable in this context, because not only does the battle plan, which we'll talk about shortly, dish out mortal wounds, but some of Sean's key sources of output from his castle are going to be mortal wounds from the Wargaming Shaman, from potentially Merciless Blizzard as well. So see how things pan out there. Again, same as yesterday, we're seeing a 20 brick of the Chaos Warriors with the Nurgle Mark, as well as the Eroding Icon and Sorcel Banner. This banner is giving a -1 to rend on attacks that are going into the Chaos Warriors unit. It's going to be really effective here because, for the most part, Sean's rend is going to be capped at 2 unless he is throwing out a Hoarfrost here. Hoarfrost will allow him to navigate these waters much more safely, but until then, he is going to be swinging with -1 into the Chaos Warriors. They are incredibly sticky. We know that they are rallying on 5-ups here, so if they escape the range of combat, then they are going to be coming back with a vengeance as well. Not particularly punchy, but they will pick a spot and they will stay there for a long time. Moving on to the final two units of Alan's list, he is packing a unit of Corvus Cabal. This is the unit that we saw deep striking yesterday. Opens up a fair few battle tactics by doing so, and also allows Alan to spread his forces out beyond the move forward and charge approach that this list is packing. It is incredibly aggressive. Same as yesterday, we are seeing Chaos chosen with the mark of Slanesh, which is going to allow them to run and charge on a command. We saw this yesterday on stream, and although they did get stuck on the Immortus Guard, they still are an incredibly fighty unit. We've talked about the role of Hoarfrost here. We do see a handshake coming out from the players. They are getting started, and it appears that Sean has been given the first turn. Continuing on with Alan's list here, while players are mulling over battle tactics and what actions they are taking. Alan has also elected to take the Geminids of Olgish. I absolutely did not pronounce that word correctly. Endless spell. This is an incredibly powerful endless spell that when it is affecting a unit, they are not going to be able to receive commands. We will likely see Sean try to stop this. Sean is a big lover of the redeploy command. He likes getting the additional combat bonuses from all-out defense. So we'll have to see how this factors into Sean's calculations in the combat phase here as Geminids is moving up the board. But with that, we are off to the races. While these players are getting started here, I do want to highlight our other undefeated table as well. We currently have Oscar, who was on stream yesterday, playing Dan Riker, also on stream yesterday. Both players 3-0 going into day 2. Oscar piloting the OCR Bone Reapers, Mortis Praetorian, Subfunction. Sean has called sneak up for his battle tactic and proudly exclaiming it, screaming across the room at me. Alongside Oscar is Dan Riker, who is playing the Lumineth Realm Lords race with Ionis and Teklas that we saw on stream yesterday as well. So very exciting to see. We will likely see the winner of that game, assuming no draw. Stranger things have happened, but we'll likely see the winner of that game next round on stream as well at Top Table. It's a super interesting game there. That being said, we have 4 3-0s remaining in round 4 here. So barring any ties, like I had mentioned, we will have 2 3-0s going, or 4-0s going into the final round, which means we will likely be figuring out who our best general, or perhaps even best overall, if sportsmanship scores and hobby scores are high for that player as well, will be on the table next round. So very exciting. As I've mentioned on previous streams, the winner of Golden Sprue the past 2 years was myself. I've chosen this year to be the voice of Golden Sprue for the weekend. So really the drama of this weekend has been seeing who of this field, many of these folks very determined, working very hard to get where they need to be to play through all 5 rounds of the tournament, get their hobby up to par, be the best sport that they can be at the table, and provide a good experience to their opponent, and hoping to walk away the Golden Sprue champion this year. Who will it be? We have no idea yet. It could be one of these 4 undefeateds. It could be one of our 4-1, or maybe even a very strong 3-2 competitor with incredible hobby and sportsmanship scores. So more on that. The DaBoyz tournament system uses conglomerate scoring, combining the soft scores from sportsmanship as well as hobby. There is a relatively rigorous hobby rubric as well that players are attempting to meet all of the checkboxes for, score as many points as they can. Sportsmanship, obviously always a goal of the hobby. So we will see how those scores factor in here, and then combine with the tournament scores to allow someone to receive the mark of best overall in this event. It appears that Sean actually has opted to change his battle tactic, going for magical dominance instead of sneak up, given that he is out of the unbind range of Be'lakor at this point in the tournament. Alan deploying his army fairly far back, probably preempting some of the offensive power of the orcs, but perhaps being on the back end of the turn, this will also offer Sean an opportunity to mitigate a potential double turn coming out of the Slaves of Darkness. We see a Mystic Shield coming out from Sean. It is going off on a 5. A successful battle tactic has been scored by Sean O'Shaughnessy, scoring him 2 points at the onset of the turn. Devin in the chat announcing Sean always with the take back. Devin, one of Sean's regular opponents, talking trash on his teammate. Friendly fire in the chat room at this time in the morning. It's quite early for that, Devin. Very shameful. Sean proceeding on through the hero phase, so I'll allow him to move through here. Looks like he has also...
Hoarfrost Ren 3.
Hoarfrost Ren 3 has come down on the Ardboy screen in front. Looks like Sean has also laid down his damage buffs potentially. Looks like one has come out onto the Ardboys in front there, maybe one on the brute unit on the flank. Unclear, I do see those 2 red tokens, but he is moving over a teleport. We may also see the Gore Grunts launched out here early. Sean appeared to be moving over a teleport. Also looking for a way to get Gobsprack into that key position. I mentioned before that Be'lakor has a ethereal save. So Be'lakor is going to be definitely in a tad bit of pain if he is within range of Gobsprack, and Gobsprack is feeling like doing his job today. Those D6 mortal wounds are going to come onto the Be'lakor, and they will provide Source a way to get through that unit. He's not incredibly tanky. I mean, 4-up ethereal save is definitely something you can punch through. It's a coin toss save. But the mortal wounds making it a lot easier for Sean in the long running, particularly because his army does have a fair bit of Ren. Sean looks to be mulling over some of his positions still. Camaraderie between the players is high. Both appear to be in very high spirits this early. Something tells me that they both went to bed relatively early. I did talk to both players a little bit before this. They both seem to be raring to go, but both definitely in high spirits. Alan definitely excited to be in this position at his second GT and feeling pretty comfortable with how the tournament has gone so far. Sean very excited to be in this position. He is a tad bit of a grandpa and went to bed very early last night, so he is feeling well rested, but he definitely put a lot of thought into this matchup, research. Sean known for making spreadsheets before his game, applying all of his work day-to-day skill set to Age of Sigmar. Now we do see on these sides, we have Gobsprack flaring out, getting in range of the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, which of course we have noted that Alan needs for the grand strategy. Ignoring Be'lakor at this point in time, likely a good choice there, targeting a key piece early on. Also, better to keep Gobsprack flared out so that he is not in danger of any offensive pressure from some of the fast units on Alan's side. We also see on the opposite side the Brute Ragers flaring out as well, likely setting up for a future surround and destroy battle tactic. One of the real strengths of the Big Law army is that the battle tactic path is so stable that you are able to almost score 5 battle tactics consistently without interacting with your opponent. Really posing a quandary to your opponent saying, okay, come get some. Sean has been employing this strategy to great effect throughout the tournament, although he did have a particularly scrappy game against Ogre Maw Tribes yesterday, where he did have to throw a lot of his combat pieces out. But back to basics here for Sean. He is not working with his ABCs, always be charging. He is playing conservatively, running his units along the backboard and saying, okay, come on in. Offering Alan the challenge of getting across table here. Alan also deploying somewhat conservatively on this board. So now I've talked a little bit about the battle tactics from the Big Raw, but I do want to get into some specifics as to what exactly that entails. I mean, for starters here, we have seen the magical dominance come out uncontested due to the unbinding raids on Ellen's side of the table. But I mean, in addition to that, we called out the battle tactic that Sean can score for having 30 or more WAP points. We have Surround and Destroy already set up here on the board. In addition to that, there's also a Cruel Boys battle tactic that is not locked to the general that allows Sean to score it if all of his Cruel Boys models are within 3 inches of a terrain piece. Notably, Sean has 1 Cruel Boys unit, so he has to put Gobsprak within 3 inches of his terrain piece to score this battle tactic. Given that Gobsprak is usually hanging back and looking to just provide support to Sean's forces, it's a very stable grab. You really have to walk out of range and kind of do it to yourself to deny that tactic. That being said, in addition to this, Sean has some of the Iron Jaws tactics, one of which that is not locked to the general, allows him to have 2 Iron Jaws units within 3 inches of the board center. This is fairly easy to accomplish in the far end of the game because a lot of stuff's off the table. If you're in a winning position and your units are sticking around, which we know from experience that the Ard Boys in this case are particularly tanky, Sean's going to be doing everything he can to defend his heroes. Many of which are Iron Jaws units. He'll be marching up the board as the game becomes more combat intensive. So very attainable battle tactic here. There is also one for when aggressive games are played to have all of his units wholly within 12 inches, or rather within 12 inches of an enemy unit at the end of the turn. So another very attainable battle tactic. We do see, on the other hand, Sean has gone ahead and scored 4 points on the turn. We see Alan beginning to cast, taking a risk there, throwing a primal die at an initial casting roll with a 1, laying out a buff. It appears to be a Mystic Shield on the Chosen on the rightmost side. We see the Chaos Warriors in the top left and the Varangard center. Definitely curious to see where these Corvus Cabal come down. They are currently sitting in Deep Strike.
Guess who's going to be making big appearances on the field? Who's on for
Players discussing wards and defensive buffs on the Slaves of Darkness side at this point in time. Sean kind of taking an assessment of how effective his Mortal Wound output is going to be here. Of course, the Chaos Warriors and the Varangard both packing wards against Mortal Wounds, which is incredibly strong. Also, just a minor correction on the stream. The round number currently does indicate round number 5. It is worth noting that this is because of the battle round being left over from yesterday's stream. You see our streamer here is incredibly experienced and capable with a stream deck and has definitely hit the correct button to change it to 1. So minor correction there. We are in battle round 1. We are in Alan's turn at the bottom of battle round 1. Now, Alan electing to take second here. This is going to be interesting to see. He's going to begin to advance up the board, but Sean hanging back very far. So, of course, this gives both players the opportunity for some gamesmanship around the priority. Of course, each of them likely wanting to give it away to the other. That way they cannot capitalize on a double turn, that they could be subjected to a double turn. We talked a little bit about double turn yesterday on the stream, but it's one of those game mechanics that really sets Age of Sigmar apart. Not even just the double turn itself, but just the priority system in general. Age of Sigmar, unlike most games, does not have a binary I go, you go system of turns, which makes for a lot of interesting and unique game states, and of course it means that the same game played twice will not always go the same way. That being said, this means that if I go and then you go, and you win the priority, you may go in additional time, taking 2 turns sequentially, or you may hand the turn back, and it may be that binary I go, you go. But after another 2 turns, there will be another priority exchange, and that means that you will be potentially on the front or back end of the turn based on that as well. Things are constantly shifting due to that mechanic. It is incredibly interesting. It rewards skillful and careful play, and it's one of those things that really sets Age of Sigmar apart from some of its wargame counterparts. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is this battle plan. I mentioned a little bit how there are different aspects of this battle plan that will benefit each player, so I want to get into that a little bit now. There are 2 conditions on this battle plan, the first of which is that Antorian Locusts count as 10 models for the purposes of contesting objectives. This is something that Sean is probably pretty keen on because he is playing an army that has a fair few Antorian Locusts. Both his general and the Wargog Shaman are both Antorian Locusts, so we will see Sean being able to use those to great effect here to weigh down on those objectives. On the other hand, Sean does have a lot of units. Big Law Mobile Castle Army, it tries to keep things together and then launch combat units out of the castle to great effect. Because of this, there will be some difficulty imposed by the second condition, which is that at the start of each Battle Shock phase, you will roll a die for each objective contested by 3 or more units, and on a 4+, each unit contesting that objective will suffer D3 mortal wounds. You roll separately for each unit, worth noting, so Sean will have to rely on his ability to flip some coins there. Not only that, but it is simply 3 or more units. So if Sean is placing 2 units on the objective and then Alan commits his Vanguard and they are not clearing what they are making contact with, there is going to be that damage, and Alan is going to tank it a fair bit better than Sean will. Simply because Alan has wards against mortal wounds. Being able to shrug off the damage from the battle plan is incredibly powerful. So we do see the Chaos Warriors running behind the Vanguard moving up the table very quickly. Chaos chosen on the top right objective with Be'lakor following behind them. It does not appear that Be'lakor has been utilized yet, so I do want to talk a little bit about Be'lakor before we do see him come out. I did talk about the component that Be'lakor is ethereal, but he is a 2-cast wizard. I have jokingly made fun of his sword, which I have called the ramen noodle sword because it usually does 0 damage, but Be'lakor is an incredibly powerful support piece. The most important ability of his is the Dark Master ability. This is going to allow Alan once per battle at the start of enemy hero phase to select one of Sean's units anywhere on the battlefield. There is no range for this. And then until the next hero phase, until Alan's next hero phase, at the start of each phase, he is going to roll, and on a 3 up, that unit is not going to be able to. This is an exhaustive list. This is quite a few things, so listen to this. It is move, shoot, fight, use command abilities, chant prayers, attempt to cast spells, dispel endless spells, or attempt to unbind spells in that phase. You are removing a lot of utility from a game piece here, so I'm curious to see what Alan chooses. It doesn't appear that he had chosen anything in the first battle round. Often what we'll see from players is they will try to get on the top of the turn when utilizing Be'lakor. That way they can give the turn away. We talked a little about the I go, you go, not necessarily being a thing in Sigmar. If you take the first turn in the battle round and then you apply Be'lakor to a unit, that unit will be Be'lakored in your opponent's turn. You'll roll the priority. Now, the player who goes first in the round breaks ties on the priority, meaning you are favored on that priority roll, which is excellent. So not only are you mathematically favored to win the priority round, when you do, you can give the turn away, and then with that Be'lakor unit or buff or debuff is still applied. The unit is still Dark Mastered, so you're getting 2 turns of value off of that ability. And you can target anything on the board. This could be used to remove a key support piece from the board temporarily. This can be used to tie up a hammer. We might see this used in great effect on either the Brutes. We might see it on one of Sean's other hammers. The Borguntas and the Razors are both incredibly quick. I do want to talk a little bit about the Razors. We do see the Razors flaring out on the right side here as opposed to the Gorgruntas, which are sitting in the back behind the terrain piece between the bottom center and bottom right objectives. The Gorgruntas here are damage characteristic 1 at base, and so they benefit greatly from the presence of a War Chancer nearby. It's generally being a piece that Sean is going to look to Mighty Destroyers out, press forward. On top of that, he's going to maybe try to teleport them out, press them into a key unit. So we'll see what happens there, but they're not to the same extent as the Razors an independent piece. The Razors, on the other hand, Ren 2 base, damage characteristic 2, although it is certainly cool to see them receive the War Chancer buff and go to damage characteristic 3. They do operate independently. Now on the turn here, we do see that Sean has scored 4 on the first turn. On the opposite turn, Alan has scored 5, capturing the bottom left objective with the Corvus. Sean stepping off of that objective. So this is going to put Alan a point up. Now, Sean, playing conservatively here, is going to be trailing, so he's going to be looking to find a way to overstep that gap. But in the long run, with a stable battle tactic path, a pretty reliable grand strat, Sean bringing Wa to the table here, which requires that he gets a battle line unit or his general into his opponent's territory at the end of the game. Feeling pretty comfortable on that front. We talked about the power of the Great Green Hand of Gork and being able to teleport either the general itself or another unit into the opponent's territory at the end of the game. We have had a priority roll. I am going to take a moment to just get a table check for us here, so bear with me for a moment, and I will also get an update on some of the other tables. And we are back. I was able to peruse some of the tables. So we have seen Alan score 5 here with the Magical Dominance battle tactic. Sean gave the turn away. We have not yet seen... Go ahead, for Intimidate. Intimidate? Okay. Intimidate the invaders coming out for Alan's side here. Now, Now, on the other hand, I was able to peer into some of the other games that are going on, some of our 2-1 tables, of course, as I mentioned, due to the way the scoring is done at the DaBoyz Golden Sprue GT. A 4-1 player could very well catapult into best overall. I was able to check in with Marcella's table. Marcella playing Oscar round 3 yesterday, having an absolute nail-biter of a game that extended well into the evening. Oscar coming out on top there, moving 3-0 into day 2, but Marcella looking to recover here on day 2. So she is playing Dan Lynch, who is running monster trucks, just like Hunter Armstrong's list, which we talked a little bit about on stream yesterday. Currently, Marcella appears to be in a commanding position on the board with some of her forward screens deployed in a position to deny Dan some value. So we'll see how things pan out there and keep an eye on that table. We also checked in with Ray Squires, who was on stream yesterday. He's playing Slaves of Darkness as well, much like Alan, but playing the Kabbalist subfaction. The situation there is very interesting as well. It is also a Big Law versus Slaves of Darkness matchup, but Ray playing incredibly conservatively, being very wary of the Wargog Prophet. Neither player has meaningfully engaged the other yet. They're sort of dancing around the table. I was also able to check in with Hunter, who was 2-0 coming into round 3, played showing yesterday, round 3, and he ended up going down in that round. He is currently playing against Jeff Weed's Corn. He appears to be in a very commanding position there and has actually nearly tabled his opponent at this stage of the round already. So they have moved through things very quickly. And then alongside that table is Dan Bergs. Dan was on yesterday, round 3. He played an incredibly tight game against Paul Conti's Megakin of Nurgle. Currently, Dan is also playing against Slaves of Darkness. Slaves, very popular at this event. But that being said, Dan is in a difficult position on board with one of his Bloodthirsters off the table. I was able to check the other undefeated table. Currently, both players are moving towards the mid-board, with Catacross leading the movement forward for Oscar. It appears that Dan Riker has won the priority and taken it. He took top of turn 1 and took the priority again, meaning that Oscar does have the potential for a double turn from battle rounds 2 into 3. It didn't look like a lot of pieces have been removed yet, so still anybody's game there, with both players sort of angling for an opportunity to go in and pull their opponent's pieces off the board. So we'll keep you updated on that table, because we'll likely see the winner of that table next round on stream. But back into the action here, we do see Alan has gone ahead and cast Geminids. He is proceeding with the Intimidate the Invaders battle tactic. Now, the consideration for Alan here is, how far do I push? Where do I go? Obviously, the danger here being on the top of the turn is that there could be a double turn coming back into a battle round 3. Not something you particularly want to see. If you are on the Slaves of Darkness side, you are looking to angle for that double turn yourself in some instances, but nevertheless, Slaves of Darkness is a very tanky force. There's plenty of scenarios where he withstands a blow that comes back into him from Sean's side. We do see the Varangard advancing on the Ardboy screen in that center bottom objective. Don't believe we have seen Dark Master come out from Bellacore here yet. As well. Or rather, Alan confirmed that. It's not that I don't believe it, I know it. We may see that in Sean's turn. Of course, that I had mentioned, if Alan is given the top of the turn here, he can Bellacore something, and then if Sean takes the double turn, he can go ahead and just get 2 turns of value out of it. Or Alan, rather, can get 2 turns of value out of the Bellacore. Not to make it sound like Sean's getting 2 turns out of the Bellacore. We do have a comment from Eric Devendorf from chat. Played Sean at DaBoyz. Great opponent. I like Big Law in this matchup. Laser Eyes make that castle hard to hit. Definitely true. Definitely a threat to be cognizant of. I think Alan definitely leading the charge here with some of his Mortal Wound Ward packing units, throwing those Vanguard forward. shown redeploying forward and sideways with the ArtBoy screen. And we see the Chaos Chosen moving on the side. It appears that they have run. As I mentioned, the Chaos Chosen having the mark of Slanesh. So we'll see, they are able to run and charge with that command. Nevertheless, they are a fair few inches from those ArtBoys. It appears to be a 7-inch charge. We'll see if they make it in. Stranger things have happened. We see those Chaos Knights moving to the bottom of the top center objective, an absolute wall of a unit. From Alan's perspective, there's a few considerations here, right? You're trying to keep that Chaos Sorcerer Lord healthy as can be. That's your grand strat. That's 3 points. You're facing down an army that has incredibly powerful secondaries, so you need to make sure that you're picking up every point you can, that you're staying on 5-point turns, and you're planning your battle tactics. And you want to make sure that you're keeping that grand strategy together. So just keeping the Chaos Sorcerer Lord nice and snug with this unit of 20 Chaos Warriors. Still, of course, vulnerable to Gobsprax's Unwind's End ability. We'll see how things pan out from there. That could be an opportunity for the Be'lakor, but on the other hand as well, he is able to limit some of the crackback from Sean by attempting to use Be'lakor on either, say, the Brutes or the Gore-Gruntas or even the Ragers. Even the ArtBoys, a failed charge here could give the ArtBoys ample opportunity.
Do you need visibility to issue commands? One in charge? Protect the slaves. Yeah.
Players having a question at the table. Just checking the condition on the Slaves to Darkness command.
You don't need visibility to
Not my people.
Players just checking if visibility is needed for him to issue the command from Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Eric pointing out that Big Walk kind of puts Slaves of Darkness on a clock. Definitely a true statement there. I mean, we've talked about it a fair bit already, but the battle tactic path is incredibly stable. The longer the game goes, the more consistently Sean is able to score those secondaries. Not to say that Slaves of Darkness does not have good secondaries, but it's definitely not at the same level. Perhaps we could take a moment here to reflect on some of those potential battle tactic options for the Slaves of Darkness. There are a few of those that are particularly attainable. Run them down is one that we see come out fairly often. You complete this if at the end of your turn 3 or more Slaves of Darkness units made a charge move. It can be difficult because, you know, those all need to be successful charges, but we won't need to worry about any of these turn, I will note, because Alan has called the Intimidate the Invaders battle tactic. Lust for Power is one that we see very often, where a Slaves of Darkness hero has to roll on the Eye of the Gods table. Probably won't see that come out here. Enthrall the Chaos is another good one, where you pick a objective marker within 12 inches of any units, and you remove those units that are within 12 inches of the objective marker. Is another one here. There is also the March to Ruin battle tactic. You pick one of your Slaves of Darkness units that has an ensorcelled banner and is not within enemy territory, and you put them there within the end of the turn. We could see that come from the Chaos Warriors later in the game as they begin to move down board. They're a tad slow, but they could make their way up with a run.
Might be a little bit.
We do see some shooting attacks coming in from the Corvus. Sean demonstrating his prototypical poor luck. Alan capitalizing on some of that chip damage. Corvus packing a little chip damage weapon, Raven Darts, 1 attack per model, 4s and 4s to hit and wound 0 rend, 1 damage. Sean missing on the saves there, it appears. Actually, it looks like he may have hit them. That may have been on the ArgBoys. It looked like Alan had gestured from off table to the Brutes, but I believe that may have actually gone to the ArgBoys, which would be a successful save. We haven't seen any damage dice coming in on Sean's side here, so it appears that is the case. You do see Alan hitting a 9 to charge to get the Chaos Chosen in on the ArgBoys on the right flank. We did contemplate the potential for him to get into the Brute Ragers off to the side, but we did see that he did not roll high enough to access them at this point. And this is where the ArgBoys are going to demonstrate some of that resiliency. 3-up saves, 2 wounds a pop. We'll see how they can hold up to the advance of the Chaos Chosen. On the other hand here, they probably will not be dealing a great deal of damage in return. Not that it is necessarily required for them to do so, but worth calling out, these ArgBoys, due to having Chappas, are strongest when they are on the charge themselves. Alan making another big charge. I was just checking the board state.
Killed all the demons and then blocked out his summon thing.
Say hi to chat. We have Hunter
chat.
Armstrong that we had talked about his list yesterday, winning his game against Blades of Corn, playing against Jeff Weed. You guys went through pretty quick.
Yeah, about hour and 15.
Monster trucks.
Monster trucks. They hit real hard, real fast. And if you can't take it, that's game.
So we will see a scored battle tactic from Alan here. Getting the Vanguard in, they appear to be within range of what looks like maybe the Oracle Rebound Shaman. Definitely dangerous. I'll take an eye to take in a second. Considering the second activation of the Vanguard, this is definitely very scary for a weird mode.
Everybody with a post has one.
Now, of course, losing the general here, relatively large loss for Sean. He will lose access to Merciless Blizzard as well as the Great Green Hand of Gork, as we noted before, is an excellent way for him to dig out of the backboard here, fling a unit to the opposite side of the table, and use Mighty Destroyers to essentially throw that missile wherever he wishes to be.
It's not impressive, sure.
Sean rolling saves for the AoS, which appear to be Mystic Shielded. Sean has made all of his saves except 2. From 2 AoS. Scream holding up quite well. Or maybe not. He said 2, but looks like he may have actually lost 3. I think he had said 2 initially, but maybe had noticed an additional. The AoS holding up pretty well against the initial volley of Varangard attacks. You did see the Weird Mount Shaman go down there, however, the Wargog Prophet still, of course, alive and well, chilling a little further down range. One thing I do want to talk about here is that that is one of Sean's Andorian Locusts. This means that by losing that miniature, Sean is going to no longer be getting an additional primal die on the 3-up for his Andorian Acolytes Battalion. This is going to put him a little bit lower than where he would like to be in the Magic battle this game. Of course, he still does have Gobsprak. He'll have a +1 from his WA buffs. He does still have the Wargog Prophet, but he will be even with his opponent's collection of primal dice. Sean not worrying all too much about the AoS on the right flank here, activating the one from the left flank into the Varangard, trying to deal any chip damage he can. You see 5 saves coming into the Varangard here. Now, interestingly, on the right side of the AoS unit, Sean elected to pull that innermost Ardboy, Alan charging around. One thing Sean potentially could have done here was keep that Ardboy in place, tagging the back of the rightmost, or rather the bottommost Varangard unit, or model. Let's go, Ardboy! Perhaps restricting the movement of the Varangard, but we do see the Ardboys getting through, taking out 2 Varangard. Hoarfrost being utilized to great effect here. Ardboys punching above their weight. That was effectively the Warhammer equivalent with 360 no scope. They paid for their points there in that moment, which is absolutely incredible. It's great to see how the accumulation of those buffs pan out for Sean here, despite the loss of the Weird Mount Shaman, which is a big hit. Alan now alternating and activating the Chaos Chosen, so we'll see how this pans out here. Alan collecting a bucket of dice so that he can activate the Chaos Chosen here. We're going to keep seeing how things proceed here. Here comes a bucket of dice down, seeing how many mortal wounds Alan is able to generate here into the Ardboys. Obviously, the Ardboys having a 3+ save. Incredibly sticky, but mortal wounds going past that save directly onto the wound characteristic of the Ardboys. We have a special guest jumping into the booth.
Whoa, from the
Sean
comments.
Allen from yesterday's
What's up?
comments has made a special appearance. Sean, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. My hair looks crazy, but I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Very honored to have you here. You're taking a chance to peruse some of the tables.
Yep, I'm helping out with some paint judging here as well. A lot of very well painted armies, masterfully painted armies, really. It's a very good competition of skill for the hobbyists here. Always very impressive here at the DaBoyz tournament. So I'm lending a hand here. Wow, this game looks good.
Yeah, definitely very intense. The Ardboys of Warfrost just clapped 2 Vanguard clean off the table. However, Alan was able to pile in and reach Sean's Weird Knob shot when taking it off the table as well. So quite the trade.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
buckets of dice are being poured into the Ardboys in the lower right now by the Chaos Chosen. So we'll see how that pans out. It's top of 2.
Are they buffed up? The Ardboys?
The Ardboys on the left side are. The ones on the right are just standard Ardboys.
Okay, cool.
But it's the new scroll, so they have the 3-up save and everything too. They're pretty tanky.
Oh, they have 3-up saves now.
Yeah, they've enhanced them. They get +1 attacks in the charge if the weapon summon shows too. Obviously that won't come up here, but
Yeah. All right, very cool.
we'll see how things go. Bellacor's Dark Master is still live.
Yep, that's always like a Dark Spectre.
Yep.
Kind of over the table.
So we'll see how things pan out. Alan's troops are within Vietnam Shaman violation range. So we're going to see some slots.
Does he have the staring contest guy?
Yeah, that's the
Vietnam
He's
Shaman?
positioned right here,
Oh, okay.
bottom of the table here.
I know him as the Savage Orc Shaman. My mistake. That's my old hammer brain.
Yeah, there you go. Old world brain.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back, but this looks like it's going to be a good game.
It's going to be good. Definitely encourage you to check out some of the other top tables too. Oscar and Dan's game looks very interesting as well. They're both 3-0 as well.
Nice.
So,
All right, man. Good luck.
thank you. Catch you later.
He's kind of stuck out there.
Sean, a regular viewer and commenter yesterday, but also assisting with some of the paint judging here at DaBoyz. And as he said, some of the armies here are beautiful. You can probably tell just from the top view, but both of these armies incredibly well painted by both players, both good at the game and very talented hobbyists as well. I cannot say the same for myself. I cannot paint to save my life, but really some awesome displays of hobby here. There's another big law force in the tournament, piloted by Zach McComb, that is incredibly well painted, well converted. It is a big law army just like Sean's. However, instead of being desert and like Badlands themed, it is undead themed, with all types of custom bits and things to make the orcs extra grotesque and zombified. On the other hand, we've seen some nearly fully converted armies. Aside from that one, there is a Ideneth Deepkin army running around the event that is converted with tons of squig conversions from the Gloomspite Gitz army. So very exciting to see those as well. Jeremy Williams piloting Seraphon at this event as well. Shout out to my Wicked Dicey clubmate. Yeah, Jeremy's army is absolutely beautiful, and he has many awesomely painted little frog miniatures that he has utilized as skinks in his Seraphon army. We do see now that the Chaos Chosen have successfully cleared the Ardboys, which is a big swing. That being said, Sean is a player that is known to scrap for every last point, tooth and nail. So we will see how things pan out here. The Ardboys living through the second volley of attacks from the Vanguard. And I see Bellacor's ability used to great effect in this following turn, but with 3 hammers in play against Alan's hammers here, it's definitely going to be interesting to see which of these comes out to the greatest effect. Both War Chanters are safe, which means that Sean's units will be at +1 to damage, short of Ragers. And of course, even with Dark Master coming out, there is always the opportunity that it fails. 3-ups are not guaranteed. I know from experience that even sometimes 2-ups feel like 5-ups. Here's that Alan is opting to activate a second time. It's chosen as well. He is going full aggro here, trying to do as much damage to Sean as possible.
These are going to be still 3s and 2s. There's 2s in the bracket, and then your back's the 3, 3, then 4. And then I'll attack. So 73s, 2s, run 1.
Chosen carrying 2-inch reach weapons, so a handful of them here will be able to get into the hero that Sean has on the bottom right objective, which I believe is the Auric War Chanter.
D3 plus 1 damage. That's 12 damage.
So with this, we can project that Alan is going to score 5 points on this turn. He has already accomplished his battle tactic and has a commanding position on the objectives. That being said, there is still a lot of Warhammer to play here with 3.5 battle rounds remaining. Players checking ranges on Chosen, determining how many you're able to get into this hero here. Looks like Alan is splitting, putting some into the War Chanter, some into the Gore Gruntas at the bottom. We'll have to see how much damage comes out here. Worth noting, Chosen a perfect target for the War God Stare. We'll see how that pans out. Not having a after save for the mortal wounds. We see some 1s coming out from Alan. And the War Chanter, it appears, has tanked it. I believe that was the War Chanter volley first. It looks like this might be the remainder coming into the pig. I'll double check that on the table in a moment here. Oh, it appears it actually may have been the Gorgon's first and sending it to the table. But Alan dropping a fair few attacks on the back end there, not a super impressive. Oh, actually it looked more impressive than it did from above. Once we see how many saves Sean has rolled, the War Chanter has gone down. Big here. That gives a big hit to Sean's damage potential. The other thing that's important here is that the Gorgonzas have now been tagged, which means that they are not going to be applying charge mortals when they get into combat here. Also being stretched around that terrain piece means that they are going to be in an awkward position to really deal meaningful damage. Attrition is not the Gorgonza's strength. They like to run in, hit hard, hit fast, get out, clear a unit. Not a lot of room for Sean to maneuver out of the engagement here as well. That being said, there is a unit of 10 brutes and 6 razors on standby. Alan will get 1 instance of using Bellator.
Our boys had more frost red 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sean giving a shout out to his Ard boys, clapping some of the Varangard off the table at Ren 3 with that War Chanter damage buff. I mean, from Alan's perspective, you've got to feel pretty good here, right? This is a solid, aggressive board position. You've taken out about 400, actually closer to 600 now, worth of Sean's models on this turn. You have lost some Varangard in the process, but not quite a single unit's worth. Chosen, very healthy. We'll see how much damage comes in from the Gore Gruntas here, but probably not a ton. They do not appear to be damage buffed. Gore Grunta Spear is much closer to Noodles without a damage buff as well, and with the War Chanter down, they will not be quite as effective. We have our loving tournament organizer, Josh Keel, making a special guest appearance in the background.
We're very organized today. Organization is the key.
You sound like an organized organizer.
Sometimes you just have to organize things, and then, but like some things can't be organized, and those things kind of just like fall into the scope of the organization, so that way you don't have to worry about them.
Interesting. We have some great insight from Josh here. Devin saying, "What's up, Josh?" in the chat. I will be sure to pass along the message, and I will try to get a reply to you. Alan has scored 5 points.
You can mark this sheet.
All the stone order plus what damage.
Oh, right. Woo, that was a lot.
We are now in Sean's turn. Curious to see how Sean responds to this aggression. Obviously, he has a handful of hammers and utility pieces within range. He has ample opportunity to clear the core of this off the bottom left objective. There's going to be a lot of weight carried on the shoulders of the Wargog, and I'm happy to see Sean play some slots. Yep. But all of Alan's units have fought twice now, so that's off the table as well. Alan's damage output here, now that he is in the slog of combat, is going to decrease. His Chosen have moved forward and have extended beyond the reach of his buffs as well. Bellator still hanging back too. We may not see his spell come out to great effect here anytime soon. Bellator in this case has been given the Binding Damnation Strike last spell. But we will see Dark Master likely used here, or in a follow-up turn as the board narrows further.
Very rude, sir.
It appears that Dark Master has been called, but it has actually been placed on Gobsprack, protecting the Corvus Cabal, perhaps giving Alan a command and control of that bottom left objective for an additional 2 turns.
I have not attacked.
Alan actually calling the Bellator before showing his Chosen tactic or the Wargog here. Very bold is that I am absolutely Bellatoring Gobsprack no matter what transpires here. Here comes the Wargog Prophet, the freebie. Sean dealing 2 mortals on the freebie. Now this is where he can begin taking damage. Rolling a 1.
Need to be able to wrist action this.
Sean rolling poorly. He has shifted his dice tray, hoping that the extra energy will enable him to do some extra damage.
1 to me. 1 to me.
Sean, I believe, has taken 2 so far.
2 to you.
2 more.
3 to you.
Sean rolling a big amount of damage. He's taken 4 now. So now, if he continues to gamble with the War God, he is in danger of dying. This is a decision point for Sean, having to decide whether he wants to hold off here, take the chance to try to fix and beat if that War Chanter is still alive, repair the War God, or to press forward and try to remove these hammers.
I'm not the biggest fan of these ones. They're a little
From Alan's perspective, you have to be loving this. Sean is playing slots and he has not hit the jackpot quite yet. He's going to continue on. He has dealt 2 more. He is dealing 3 more. He has dealt 3 more to Alan.
I knew in my head I was like, stop now. 17's good.
Sean, I believe, has rolled 6 damage for himself. He has taken 2. He has survived with a single wound, and he has stopped. Very exciting. We saw Sean go for broke there, and although he did roll the 6 on the back end, the wards were able to keep him aloft. He has peeled away 5 of the Chaos Chosen, which is 6, even better, looks like. Oh no, it appears, yeah, 6 have been removed. Incredible value coming out there. Even with the Weird Knob down, we have seen just the sheer amount of violence that the Wargog Prophet is able to commit. Incredibly exciting game piece. Probably one of the most fun models to utilize in Age of Sigmar. I love the gamesmanship of it. Deciding when to stop, when to go. Sean's deliberating on battle tactics now that he has pulled away a substantial number of the Chaos Chosen. From Sean's position now, this is going to feel a substantial bit better. He buffed up those Ard boys. He's put a meaningful amount of chip damage into the Varangard, probably looking for an opportunity to peel away the last of them. Although Gobspreth is Velcord, I think you're probably relatively okay with that. You may not be able to clear the Corvus in all likelihood, but you still have all of your hammers live. The Brute Rager is a great independent operating piece, potentially going to come down and provide an assist to the Portmantos on the bottom right objective, fighting the Chaos Chosen. On the other hand, we have the Varangard. We do see a wild Mike Mullis in the background making a special guest appearance. Sean referencing his scoring sheet, looking at what battle tactics his opponent has called. Sean, known for his laminated dry erase sheets that he lovingly hands out to all of his opponents. Much like Josh, one of the organizers of all time. Well, Sean is deliberating here on what comes next after the violence committed by the Wargog Prophet. I'm going to take a moment to gather a couple table updates. I will provide that Sean is calling sneak up because Gobsprach is in position to call the battle tactic. He has seen the obvious path to 2 points for a tactic this turn. So with that, Sean will score that battle tactic. I am going to proactively throw those points on there now.
That was just a cut back.
We'll see how things go. Maybe he'll forget and move away. Devin says, Sean made me pay him for that sheet. So much for the nice guy charade. We have some more friendly fire. That being said, I am going to step away now while they are in between, and I'll provide an update on the cast and progress on the table, as well as the other undefeated table. All right, we are back to the game here, getting back into the action. We see the Brutes advancing on the south center objective. I do come bearing a couple different table updates from around the room, and went to peek at our other undefeated table, and it appears that Oscar is in a relatively commanding position on the board, but as we did see yesterday, if Techless is live, there's a game. Currently, Catacross, 3 Immortus Guard, and a handful of other units in Oscar's army at the bottom of 2, digging deep into Dan's line. He doesn't appear to have many units beyond his 2 big centerpiece models, although his list is a little light on heroes on the whole. So we'll see how things pan out there. Dan, very experienced player, not easily shaken, so we'll see how he battles back from that position. On the other hand, I went and peeked at Marcella's table. Marcella had lost to Oscar yesterday in round 3, looking to pick up a win this morning and keep herself in 4-1 contention. She does look to be falling a bit behind against the monster trucks, but still plenty of units to go, and the recursion of the Gloomspike Gits cannot be underestimated in King's Gits, where they get to re-roll the 4+ from the Moon Shrine, giving her a second opportunity to revive the 30 Boingrot boundary. She's bringing her list, bringing them back in units of 5. We say 30, but we all know it's 45. Also checking in on Zach McComb and Ray Squire's table. Ray playing Slaves of Darkness Cabalists on stream yesterday. They are still playing an incredibly cagey, slow game. Very uncharacteristic of both players here throughout the event. So it's interesting to see how they've talked each other into this slow, steady, let's see what happens board state. That being said, Dan Burge, who was on stream round 3 yesterday, did end up getting tabled by Logan Vanderwalker, Slaves of Darkness, playing Knights of the Empty Throne, if I recall correctly, with a bunch of Aaron Guard, some Chaos Knights. So interesting to see that there, hyper fast and aggressive list, just running through the corn screens. On the neighboring table, I had mentioned previously that Hunter Armstrong did defeat Jeff Weed in the Monster Trucks. That is the Ogre Maw Tribes 6. I say Stonehorns, but it's Stonehorns and Thundertusks list, utilizing the Buzzards, which are a ranged weapon that can deal a single mortal wound on a 2-up, but they are not a true ranged weapon in the sense that you are making missile weapon attacks. So you can target little foot heroes that are just hiding amongst the ranks of your opponent's units. Now, we have moved forward into the turn here. Sean beginning to advance and encircle on Alan's troops. He is charging in here with the Brute Ragers on the right side. Obviously, Sean, as I mentioned previously, had elected to call the sneak-up battle tactic. He's going to do everything he can to clear off some of these hammers. Got Rex standing still on the left side of the table, Dark Mastered currently. Sean doing what he can to maximize. Trying to get all of those Razors in, although he did roll a relatively substantial charge roll from the look of it. So, we'll see how things pan out here. Brute's likely to go into the Varangard. Varangard unable to attack twice. We'll likely see most of them come off the table here. Sean probably falling into a tad bit of a scoring deficit on the turn here, but I mean, nevertheless, even if he had that bottom left objective with the Corvus Cabal on it, he still only scored 4 points at most this turn.
This is my last turn to probably do that.
Sean also hoping to clear off Alan's units here to keep himself from taking damage in the Battle Shock phase from the battle plan that is 4-up D3 mortal wounds on any objective that has more than 3 units on it at a given time. So we'll see how things pan out on that front. Alan probably not quite welcoming the rolls, but a lot less fearful of them given that he has the mortal wound after saves. Particularly on the Varangard, which is a 4+ mortal wound board. Incredibly powerful. Do need to give a retrospective shout out to the Word on Prophet here, which had peeled away several of Alan's Chaos Chosen. giving the Raiders a real chance here of clearing the unit. Sean is at +1 to hit and wound currently. For all of his units, he has maxed out on his WA. Tom asking in the chat, is Madigan still there? She is, but she is doing a lot of floor judging at the table. She's been able to check in a couple times here, but running about the hall still. I can tell her that you are in the chat, though, Tom. Also, hi, Tom. I hope you are well since Georgia. I know we only spoke briefly there.
So that'll balance out. Okay. 3, next 2.
You see the Brutes coming into the Chosen and activating first, or not the Chosen, the Vanguard.
Tournament players. Tournament players.
Tom giving a shout out to the AoS Team World Championships that is taking place this spring. Very exciting event. I encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to watch the live coverage. If you can attend the singles, definitely feel free to do so. Highly recommend it. Great competitors, great competition, great rules pack, great TO staff. Last year, the Honest Wargamer provided event coverage that was absolutely wonderful to watch, so shout out to them as well.
Right.
One answer.
Yeah, rank 2. Oh, yes. Sorry. Just said that. Don't go away.
Sean rolling through the Brute Jaguar Haka attacks now.
Do not fill out forms.
Looks like he has put 12 saves into his opponent here.
That you are not playing it.
We're going to be at -2.
Okay, I got a +1 over here.
As we 4-ups in the Vanguard, which have called all-out defense, we do see a substantial handful of 3s. Wow, that is going to be 24 damage into the Vanguard coming out of the Brutes. Those Vanguard are out of here. Big crackback from Sean. Now, of course, Alan is going to get a chance to activate the Chaos Chosen, but of course, Sean charging on the corner here. Going to give Alan a little bit of a difficult time with the pile in here. He does have 2-inch reach with the Chosen, so the 2 in the back should be in range, but he'll have to work out that distance for the middle one. It looks like it is closer to the Gorgruntus from this view, although this is not perfectly top down, so perspective could be slightly warped.
Yeah. So basically, these 2 go there. Those 2 go there. Right, you got 2-inch reach.
Alan piling over. Uniquely, he did pile towards the furthest out Ragers. He'll have 2 and 2. He is splitting attacks, just due to the limited range on the Chosen here relative to both of the units on either side of them. Thank you to everyone who is joining us in the chat. For those of you who are not with us from the start, my name is Tyler Bushy, and I am the voice of the Golden Sprue DaBoyz GT this weekend. DaBoyz Golden Sprue GT is an event that has been running for many years in the capital region in New York State as a composite hobby, sportsmanship, and tournament scored event, similar to the DaBoyz GT that is run in the fall every year. We do see 2 saves provoked by the Chaos Chosen. One of the Brute Ragers coming down here. Now we have 2 coming into the Gorgruntus here. Taking 4 on the Gorgruntus, causing one of the Gorgruntus to be removed due to some of the previous damage from the Chaos Chosen. Sean taking this opportunity now to pile in the Brute Ragers. Sean calling sneak up means that he has already accomplished his battle tactic here. He is going to score 4 points on this turn. That will leave the score going into battle round 3 at the tail end of this turn, 10 to 8 in Alan's favor currently, with 3 more rounds of Age of Sigmar to be played. Sean rolling through the Brute Ragers here, proccing 12 saves on the Chaos Chosen at Mig 2. He's going to be 5 ups coming on the Chosen. I will say one thing that is particularly impressive about Sean's output into the Chaos Chosen is that they were -1 to wound due to the Mark of Myrtle. That +1 to wound from Big Wog going a long way to help keep Sean from bleeding damage. And we do see the Brute Ragers have lifted the Chosen. I talked a little bit before how even with the Orc War Chancer gone, the Brute Ragers do have a natural damage characteristic of 2, making them more of an independent operator unit.
That's what I needed to happen.
Sean breathing a sigh of relief, seeing very happy with the turn. Sean scoring the turn. Players rolling the priority. Alan's rolling over if he would like to give it or take it away. He had Dark Master Gobsprack here, so taking it does mean that will go away, but of course losing both of his hammers here is definitely thinking long and hard about how to battle back here and keep his battle tactic path stable for the next 3 turns. He has already scored Magical Dominance and Intimidate the Invaders, so we will see how he proceeds onwards from here.
Yeah, probably better than giving the Sprue -1.
I believe Alan has now elected to take the turn. He's mulling over his options, so while we are between battle rounds, I am just going to take another moment here to just peruse some of the other tables close by and get us some table updates. Jumping back into the live stream here, we have a couple updates from some of the neighboring tables. I can confirm that Oscar is 4-0. Oscar, being on stream yesterday, piloting the OCR Bone Reapers, has defeated Dan Riker, who was on stream round 1 playing Lumineth Realm Lords Helon with Teclis and Ionis. Oscar taking a double and packing both of Dan Riker's heroes away with the combination of Catacross and some aggressively placed Immortus Guard. I talked to both players, and one of the big deciding factors was the positioning of Arcane Terrain on the flank, which allowed Arcane to be at +3 to cast Unbind Dispel, which really limited Dan's potential for casting more than 2 spells, and with some well-placed rolls, he was able to keep Oscar off of the, Oscar was able to keep Dan off of casting anything all too valuable. A couple other table updates. I was able to check Zach McComb's table against Ray Squires. Ray on stream yesterday piloting the Slaves of Darkness. It does appear that the walls are closing in on Ray at this point in the game. Zach is moving across the board at this point in time. I had mentioned previously that Hunter Armstrong did defeat Jeff Weed, so he is advancing 3-1 going into the final round. In addition to that, Dan Bergs did lose to Logan Vanderwalker, who is now 3-1 with his Slaves of Darkness, his only loss being to Marcella. Marcella continuing to play an incredibly tight game against the Ogre and Maw Tribe's monster truck list with a combination of Stonehorns and Thundertusk. So we'll see how things pan out there. Continuing on with the action here, Alan did elect to take the turn here, giving up the Dark Master on Gobsprack here and trying to find some proactive options to fill out his tactic plan for these final 3 turns here after losing both the Chosen and the Baron Guard at the bottom of 2. See what happens here. Alan deep in thought. Just confirmed with the players that Alan has called the Iconoclast battle tactic. This is that he has to pick an enemy unit that is a priest or totem and complete it if it is destroyed at the end of the turn. Alan has selected the Wargog Shaman, who has 1 wound remaining from Sean's very merry playing of slot machines last round. So we will see how things proceed from here. He does have those Corvus Cabal in range. Maybe hoping to throw them in there, throw them away, but just get 1 pip of damage into the unit. We'll see how things pan out here. Sean having a few options. Of course, the Wargog Prophet having the 4++ as well. So even if Alan does squeak through a pip of damage, there is always that coin toss chance that Sean could shrug it off. So we'll see how things pan out here. Unbinding attempt from Sean, which I believe failed. Fights last being given to the Brute Ragers from Bellicor, I believe there. Bellicor likely to come in with the ramen noodle sword, so we'll see if he performs as written or if he will noodle arm out and do approximately 2 damage. A lot of stuff still to kill on the board for Alan here. Those Chaos Warriors, of course, being a little sluggish, but incredibly difficult to remove. Bellicor being a great support piece in and of himself. We may have actually seen an Enfeeble Foe come down on the Brute Ragers as well. That is Bellicor's War Scroll spell.
In the beginning of my turn, I rolled dice.
you see Be'lakor fleeing to the flank, likely setting up a feature. So now I'm going to destroy.
You would charge. No, you didn't charge. I charged that. So I would roll for.
Or perhaps also just trying to get as far away from Sean as possible.
I forget it every turn. So it's like round 4, and I'm like, oh, 4 takes some D3s. It's like, are you
Now, I spoke on it a little bit earlier, but a little bit about these players, some additional information I've found as well. Alan, actually a War Machine Hordes player previously, relatively well known as well for that. Similar to Dan Riker, who was on stream round 1, everyone knows Warhammer Dynamo. Tom Guan, also a prior War Machine player. We seem to have a lot of these transplants in recent years that have been doing incredibly well at Age of Sigmar events, so power to them all for making the swap over and running with it. I'm talking to Alan. This is his second GT. I'm not familiar with his prior work at events in Age of Sigmar, so a little bit of an unknown quantity here at the table, but he has been playing very well. He does local out of Massachusetts as well, which is very awesome. Close by, not too far of a travel for the GT, which is based out of the capital
Wargaming
region of New
players,
York.
lunch is out. So when you're done with your round, feel free to grab some lunch.
Madigan, say hi to Tom in the chat.
Hi, Tom.
Hopefully he's still there. Madigan has got soup. She is known for being a soup lady. Whenever soup has the opportunity to be presented to her, she will take it. What soup did you get today?
That's a great question.
She has no idea what soup is in her possession. She has taken the soup without a single thought given.
Oh, it's Italian wedding.
What was that?
Italian wedding.
It is Italian wedding soup. Although I often hate on Madigan for her allegiance to soup, Italian wedding is a great selection, although she was not aware of it at the time she received the soup. So power to Madigan for lucking into one of the best soups. Madigan, chat wants to know what your highlight of the weekend is so far.
The soup is pretty good.
You can't say soup. You were gonna say soup. I saw you look down at the bowl.
All the games, honestly, are pretty good. I've been stalking Oscar because he's playing like the same list I play. He's doing really well. Sean's doing great. Marcella's gets list is cool.
Madigan enjoying the spectator view, running about the hall, watching lots of interesting games. Special shout outs to Marcella's list. Happy to see some of her other friends at the event doing well also. There's a fairly tight community here in the capital region, so definitely a lot of us knowing each other, running into each other often at events. Some of us we can't get rid of each other, like myself and Sean on screen currently. That being said, we do see that Oscar is 4-0 going into the final round as well. You have a favorite to win at this table presently. Yeah, you think Oscar. Okay. Madigan is calling her shot. She said Oscar is going to be the 5-0 man of the minute. We'll see how things pan out. Oscar working incredibly hard ahead of this event, playing more games than I can count on both of my hands combined, and then multiplied. Practicing with myself, with Sean, has really put a lot of forethought into his list as well in his gameplay. So we'll see how things pan out. Oscar likely to play the winner of this game, assuming these two don't magically tie. We'll find out. We've seen that happen at prior Golden Sprues as well, and it was definitely not my fault.
How do I do sports? I haven't done it.
What's up? We see Sean taking a redeploy here, trying to put some models in front here to mitigate the potential for the iconic class battle tactic.
Well, that's also probably the salt. Oh, Riker got beat.
Alan working out his target priority here. We do see the Chaos Warriors moving from the top center objective over to the top left. Chaos Sorcerer Lord has begun to fall back to the far edge of the table, likely also working on that surround and destroy. Chaos Warriors moving as fast as they possibly can. Alan getting a little spread thin here with a few units remaining. Sean's army incredibly fast. He will have potentially an opportunity on the back end of the battle round here. We are in battle round 3 to reach out and begin picking up points by holding more than his opponent.
No, I'm saying, can they issue their own command?
Working through the Corvus Cabal shots here, it looks like. Oh, or maybe this is actually the charge roll. We may have actually already seen the shots come out from Alan here. Looks like that may have been a 7 to charge. See how far he comes in here. That is almost within punching distance of the Wargog Shaman. Maybe 1 or 2 from the front edge of the unit there can make it in. Looks like they are within 10 inches. Oh, the charge roll may have actually been higher than I can see from this view. It may have actually been a 9 rather than a 7. This allowing Alan to thread the needle, get those Corvus in with the Wargog Shaman, although not particularly punchy, the Wargog Shaman having a single wound remaining. Still a 4++ ward on the Wargog, so we will see how things transpire here in the combat phase. Alan, of course, getting the opportunity to activate first, but the Corvus likely to be cleared by the combination of the Wargog and the Brutes.
Which I mean, like, well, now you kind of need it.
You see the Corvus now continuing to thread the needle, piling in carefully in between the Brutes, the Auric Warchancer, and the Bone Splitter's Shaman.
Oh, your jaws, that's right.
Brawling in deployment. Sean is still on full WA points here. So regardless of tactic next turn, he does have that auto grab in terms of just having 30 WA points. He'll have a few other opportunities as well. He may go back to setting up that surround and destroy, although he is likely to try to project a unit out. Without the teleport, he'll have to do that on foot to try to grab that topmost right objective. Alan putting the one guy that cannot reach into the Brutes, adding some suspense.
I forgot about
Alan may have actually called the Warchancer saying that I'm just going to do the one here, keep the suspense. Perhaps he had changed targets here. I'll confirm the target in a moment after we roll through his activations.
Yeah, we do have a laser flash. Deal 10 mortal wounds from impact hits. My rogue action is going to be...
One there, yeah, 4, so 3, 4, 5.
Roll box cards.
Oscar currently surveying the table, eyeing which of these two players will be his final opponent. Oscar triumphing over the Kabbalah Slaves of Darkness list in the last or 2 rounds prior,
I typically do the balance test.
but also having played Sean many, many times before.
That's how I've always done it.
We'll see how things continue to progress here on the table. Alan gathering his dice. Here comes the integral roll. Missing a fair few dice on 3s. Old rule of Warhammer, 3s means drop half your dice, but picking back up on the wound conversion. But Sean making his saves.
Yeah, I'll add. Oh, yeah. No, 4. You got no red. Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking of the. Alright. Yeah, 4. Okay.
That may have been a dropped battle tactic now from Alan here. We'll confirm that with the table in a moment once Sean resolves his activations back in the other direction here. We'll see some crackback.
Get some extra movement. I already got it. Oh, he's a 5, so 4. Yeah, so 4.
Oh, there may have been a mistake. With the all-out, he was on 4 and Sean failed. They repaired it, and Sean did miss both, returning the battle tactic to Alan.
4.
You guys have the rogue action rally, right? Yeah. So you can do it with 3 units.
That should be. Okay.
Sean doing his best to fit the Gorgruntas onto the terrain piece. He's hard in positioning at this point. The players have, they're both aware of the actual location of the miniatures, just fiddling with the terrain at this point.
And then there's all the other prizes.
So the Wargog is down. That is going to pick up the battle tactic for Alan and give him a 5-point turn, which is incredibly strong. Sean's going to be looking to pick up a 5er here on the following turn, get back in the game, maybe start seeking an opportunity to chase down the general on Alan's side so that way he can turn off the grand strategy, but without the teleport from the Weird Mouth Shaman. Of course, going to be a bit of a game of cat and mouse. This is a top of 3, so we will see Sean on bottom of 3 with the potential for a double turn here, so he may be able to close that gap, chase down the Sorcerer Lord. We will find out shortly. These two are rolling through the activations to clear out the Corvus. I am going to take a moment here to take a look at how the other games have panned out. So I mentioned a couple of the results before. Oscar taking a commanding win over Dan Riker and advancing 4-0 into the final round. Logan Vanderwalker overcoming Danberg's Blades of Corn in a solid game with a substantial bit of scoring coming from the Blades of Corn side, but still getting tabled in the later turns. Hunter Armstrong has defeated Jeff Weed. Mike Mullis has defeated Brian Kissel. That is the Ogre Maw Tribe's Meat Fist against the Sons of Bahamut Breaker Tribe. And then Paul Conti, who was on stream yesterday with his Maggot Can of Nurgle, has beaten Eric Jeanette's Sons of Bahamut as well. Good handful of games still in progress. Notably, I had mentioned Marcella, who's game. She's currently playing Dan Lynch, so we'll see how that goes. Dan's monster trucks appear to be in a commanding position still on the board, but it is unclear what the scoring is looking like at this point. In addition to that, we also have Zach McComb playing Ray Squires, who was on stream yesterday. Zach does still appear to be in a commanding position. Ray running light on units, but he is battling back a little bit on the board state, so we'll see how things shake out there. Back to this game now, we do see that the Corvus have gone down. Allen scoring 5. Sean surveying his scoring opportunities. So from Sean's position, you have to be thinking about a few things, right?
Alan, if you're at a good break point, there's no line.
There's no line for food.
Run out to it.
I don't want to abandon stream yet. That's okay. I'll get it after. Good call out though.
You write down intimidate.
Yep. Sean calling intimidate the invaders, meaning he will still have that catch-all tactic in his pocket for the later turns. Sean seeking a 5er here, trying to put himself closer to Allen on the score as Allen's got a tactic path. Looks to run a little light. Allen already using some of the easy gimmies to intimidate the invaders and magical dominance. Setting up for a surround and destroy here, but of course the surround and destroy means that his units are not going to be on the objective. So we'll see how things pan out here. Worth noting that Varangard in the all the way in the upper left corner is not on the table. There's just a dead body that is floating on the table. Allen is down to simply Bellicor, the Chaos Warriors, 20 brick with the Mark of Nurgle and the Nurgle and Sorcerer banner. Very sticky unit to remove, and the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on the center top objective.
This is the same game. We are long bombing it, and well, lots happened every turn almost. Yeah, we bullshit. So she's my normal round.
Sean calling intimidate here. He's advancing his units forward. Of course, only needing to get them outside of 11 inches from the bottom edge of the board on his deployment. Sean utilizing Mighty Destroyers to shift the gold prices forward, allowing him to double move. He'll definitely be able to get onto that topmost objective, picking up a 5er if Gobsprat is moving southeast. We'll see how things pan out there. He may run another unit over the other way as well. I do see Sean measuring out the distance from the rest of his forces, probably trying to ascertain how long it is going to get him, or take him to get there. Sean kind of running through some of his potential options for movement here. Thinking of where Gobsprat could go.
While we do that, I'm going to
Shifting the terrain piece there, just getting an accurate measurement.
He's got 4 moves. He already has 1. So I'm going to do one at a time. Start at top here.
Sean eyeing the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Of course, that unit is required for Allen to attain his grand strat. So thinking long term, how do I get there? How do I take that guy off the board? Sean tagging the objective, but staying a respectful distance from the Chaos Warriors. Of course, Sean having the ability to also cast Sneaking Miasma potential to double move towards the Chaos Sorcerer Lord in the future turn and chase it down. The Looks like Sean is continuing on with his casting. He maybe was mulling over potential options for that sneaky miasma to make the hero phase move and then move again. But I think seeing that he is not quite able to reach the Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Godsbreak at this stage. For everyone who is just joining us now, thank you for tuning into the DaBoyz Golden Sprue live stream. My name is Tyler Hashi. I am the voice of the event this weekend. We are in battle round 3, bottom of that battle round. We have Sean O'Shaughnessy versus Alan Knowles. In round 4, both players 3-0 going into the round, each of them vying to be 4-0 going into the final round, which will give them an opportunity to play for best general or perhaps best overall.
Black pit for 18 more.
I have 3 more crossbows to shoot.
Someone did the Black Pit on the unit of Chaos Warriors and has hit 18 mortal wounds. We'll see how Alan responds here with his ward, but he will be taking a fair bit of damage.
I'm going to do 2 more crossbows.
6.5 Chaos Warriors dying from a absolute huge amount of mortal wounds. Quite the roll there from Sean O'Shaughnessy. We always joke about him being the unluckiest man in Warhammer, but not with a roll like that. Quite the output there from the scout. So we'll see how things proceed onwards from here. A few more rolls like that, and he may be able to remove those Chaos Warriors from the board. It'll be a little difficult for him to get some of his units. A lot of his more sluggish units are center right on the board. Most of the footwork's moving 4 inches, even double moving 8 inches. It would take them some time to get across the table, and of course there only being an additional 2 turns for Sean after this to make that magic happen. Sean losing his weird knob jump in the first engagement with the Baron Guard. We will see how things pan out then. Looking for avenues to move his units up the board. He does need to tag that objective. He's running the Brute Ragers, moving an additional 4 inches maybe. Actually, it appears he may have been running the Orc Grunters. Sean moving the Gore Grunzes after running them, moving them 13 inches of range, pulling them in between Be'lakor and the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, potentially setting up for a possible double turn here. We'll see how the priority shakes out. The Ragers also probably looking to move up range. The Gore Grunzes also providing some body shielding for the Ragers. That way the Rangers can squeak in through the bottom there and work their way around towards the Chaos Sorcerer Lord potentially. Of course, as I mentioned previously, the Brute Ranger is also a bit more of an independent operator piece, having a damage characteristic of 2 naturally, whereas the Warframe does and the other ones have damage characteristics of 1 at base. Sean is down a War Chanter currently due to the Chaos Chosen attacking into one of them early on. For those of you just joining us now, we are in the bottom of battle round 3. We have Big Wah versus Host of the Everchosen. Big Wah being a conglomerate faction of Orcs, which allows Sean to pull from the unit selection of all 3 types of Orcs. Predominantly running Iron Jaws here, but with single inclusions from the Cruel Boys and the Bone Splitters groups as well. Sean has been running games, practicing, grinding with Big Law for some time now. On the opposite side of the table here, we have Alan. This is his second GT. He is a prior War Machine Hordes player, and he is running the Host of the Everchosen. This is a powerful Slaves to Darkness sub-faction that is giving him an extra Ensorcel Banner enhancement on his units. He has taken the Slanesh Banner and the Nurgle Banner in his list, although only one of those two banners remaining is the Ensorcel Banner that the eroding icon is on the Chaos Warriors in the upper left corner of the screen. In addition to that, he's also in possession of a 5-up rally on Knights, Warriors, and Chosen. Notably, Sean took, I think if I recall correctly, 6.5 of the Warriors off the top left, but Alan, of course, having a chance to rally those back on 5-ups, incredibly powerful recursion. We see Gobspread moving south. Sean measuring ahead here, trying to keep the Chaos Warriors off Gobsprack.
No, just for your move plus charge. That way you can charge.
Sean measuring his opponent's threat range, perhaps auto-running Gobsprack here to the far end, setting up a potential sneaky miasma normal move and charge play in a future turn to get at that Chaos Sorcerer that he is eyeing. Worth noting that a flip of the Grand Strat would change Sean's fortunes here as he walks up table. He does need to get into the back 11 inches of Alan's board for the Grand Strategy without a teleport at this time. Currently, either his Ardboys or his Orc Brutes can accomplish the Grand Strat. The War Gruntas and the Boot Ragers are not battling in this army. Players joking about Sean entering his shooting phase. Of course, Sean's army entirely melee. Alan's army almost entirely melee, except of course the pot shots we saw come from the Corvus Cabal while they were still on the table. Fiber from Sean. He has scored Intimidate the Invaders and held more. So we are coming into a big prio here. We see Alan rolling a 4 on the priority. Alan also opting to take the turn here. Interesting position for Alan being at this stage now. Obviously, the battle tactics looking a little tight. He has used some of the easy grabs with Intimidate and Magical Dominance. He was able to sneak in the Iconoclast with the Corvus Cabal, diving in between Sean's units to reach the Wargog Prophet with a wound remaining. Incredibly tight game we have here on hand. With that, while Alan is mulling over his battle tactic, I am going to step away for just a moment here to get a couple other table updates. I want to take an eye on the Gits and Monster Trucks game, as well as Slaves of Darkness versus the other Big Wog game between Tactical Home and Ray Squires. So with that, I will be right back, but stay tuned to the action. While I was standing at tableside, the players have actually come to an agreement on the result. I think Alan acknowledging that his battle tactics are not available for the forward turns. Tad worried about the grand strat and also just unable to go and grab Sean's objectives on the far end of the table here with only the Chaos Warriors, Be'lakor, and the Chaos Sorcerer Lord remaining. So Alan has conceded the game to Sean, which means our final round will be Sean O'Shaughnessy versus Oscar on stream. These are two teammates. They're two friends of mine. They've practiced a lot together. They both practiced a lot with me. I know what's in their heads, what they've been thinking going into this event. They've both been working really, really hard, and they both want it all very badly. So we will have a friend-on-friend, friendly fire teammate matchup here going into the final round. That being said, I am going to give Alan and Sean a moment here to decide on their final score. They're talking through some of the battle tactics. They are working that out at this point, but then afterwards I am going to try to grab Sean for an interview, and maybe if Alan is sticking around as well for a little bit, we'll grab him in as well. That being said, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is the fourth round of the DaBoyz Age of Sigmar Golden Sprue GT. We are moving into round 5 this afternoon. That stream will take place around 1 o'clock. There will be a lunch break between this round. It technically starts at 12 and will run for an hour to allow the players to get some breathing room. I'm sure Oscar and Sean will be tense, poring over one another's lists going into the final round here. That being said, definitely well played to both players here. Alan playing incredibly aggressively early on, trying to put Sean out early, but Sean battling out of his deployment zone to work his way across the board. And as we said at the start of the game, just the reliability of the Big Law battle tactic path, allowing him to consistently score tactics here, work his way off the board, go down a little bit on primary early, and then work his way up through his opponent's army and out to a victory. So definitely excited to see Big Law into OCR, Bone Reapers, Mortis Praetorians, round 5. That will be very exciting. Tom has asked in the chat, what was the soup rating? I don't know for a fact, but I do believe that Madigan probably said something to the effect of good soup. Maybe we will have to grab her at some point for a post-soup interview. Both players working out now, seems they've agreed on Sean's tactics. They're working out what Alan can still score and remaining objectives. Talking about the potential output of Be'lakor. As we all know, Be'lakor, as I mentioned earlier, has the ramen noodle sword, an incredibly strong weapon on paper. I won't say incredibly, a reasonably strong weapon on paper. But in practice, Be'lakor known to whiff, absolutely noodle his opponents with that blade. That being said, we'll probably see if we can maybe grab Oscar as well. We'll ask Sean and Oscar a little bit about their thoughts going into the final round. They know their opponents very well. They know their opponent's armies very well. Hilariously, I have the insight of having helped both of them prepare for this event, fine-tune lists, play practice games, so I know a lot about each of their thoughts and common practices as players. So it'll be a very interesting game to see how these two longtime friends and practice mates do play against one another. Another hilarious fun fact is that Oscar has been staying with Sean over the weekend for this event. So when they do finally leave, one of them will be going home with a slight sourpuss. I joke, of course, likely a lot of us will be going to dinner together after the event to celebrate everyone's mutual success. We see a final handshake coming down. Players, do we have a final score? Do we have a final score?
27-23, I think.
27-23? Final score 27-23 in Sean O'Shaughnessy's favor on Fountains of Frost in round 4 here. Well played to both of our players here. We'll give them a second to pack up their belongings here. I'm going to see if I can grab them both for an interview. Shout out to Tom in the chat saying called the Blade of Shadows because when it hits, it won't wound and just whooshes on by. Truest statement in Age of Sigmar today. That being said, let me step away and see if I can grab Sean and Alan as well for post games.
This half I'm happy with. This half didn't work out the way I intended.
It's like Wargaming.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I like it.
It's like
Bob. Sean, once you pick up your stuff, you're probably putting it out for player's choice. If I could borrow you for a post game, I'm going to try to grab Alan.
Okay.
Sean's coming right in.
Just
Sean should be joining us here for a post game in just a moment here. In a show of sportsmanship here, his round 5 opponent, Oscar, is actually helping him pack up his belongings to put them out for player's choice. Sean, welcome aboard. Do not drink that cup. That is not juice.
okay. Looks like a paint cup.
It's Josh's paint cup.
There it is.
He offered it to me as juice, but he was a liar. So how are you feeling?
Whew. That was brutal. It went about the way I expected. I don't know if people can even hear me. I put my general like 0.1 inches too far up, which really caused me issues because it reduced my movement to not be able to teleport, and it was just enough for him to get that the Baron Guard into it, which of course a Baron Guard is going to one-shot that guy, no joke. So that really hurt me. That was a big hole that I had to climb out of. He played it very well. When I won to turn 1 into 2 cryo, it was a gamble, you know. Giving it to him. I knew that. I assumed that he was going to bring Varangard and maybe Chosen in. He got both of them in.
Yep.
But I figured as long as I still had Blizzard, I would be okay. But of course, lost Blizzard too. Lost
Blizzard.
Teleport, lost
and
Blizzard.
And then you had to play slots, and you were really flying by the seat of your pants with the Wargog and incredibly close.
Yeah, that Wargog. The fact that, so essentially he had 4 attacks, I think 3 4s, no rends. I've got a 5-up down to a 4-up and a 4-up ward. He got 2 through. I couldn't roll a single 4 on 4
I did
dice.
see that initially. I had thought maybe he had attacked into the War Chancer because he had rolled the 3s, and then I realized you guys had caught it, corrected it, and then you failed both wars in the look of the field.
But unbelievable.
Definitely a few pivotal moments. I mean, one of the things too we talked about a lot on stream was going into the Dark Master turn for Be'lakor.
Yes.
What was he going to choose, and then choosing Gomsprak in the corner.
That, to me, it wouldn't have been my choice. That very much surprised me. I was happy that that was the choice. Yes, it would have been nice to be able to move Gabi over with his spell, hero phase move, shut off the ward to the Baron Guard. But again, after I'd already lost Blizzard, who really cares?
You got the job done anyway.
Yeah, and the Wargog went to the people with no ward, Didn't roll great, but he did okay. He cleared enough of them that the Rangers were able to clear it up without suffering too many losses.
Yeah.
But no, great opponent, great game, very fun.
Yeah, well done. And now you are 4-0 going into the final round. Whew. So you know who you're playing.
I just found out.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, you and Oscar practice plenty together.
Yep.
Obviously, Oscar staying over. I was just joking about how one of you will be leaving here with a sourpuss on your face.
Yep.
But
we played this game Friday nights. I hope I didn't give him all the ways to beat me. I hope he didn't learn too much from it. But I'm sure he did, because he's a smart man. He learns very quickly and knows more about armies and whatnot than I ever will. But yeah, no, it'll be a fun game no matter what, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely going to be a pleasure to commentate, having practice with you both. But
I have to stream twice?
Yeah, we got to have the top table game. The good news is your wife and the kid at home will both be able to tune in, watch, and enjoy the show.
Right. I think they went to the trampoline park this morning.
That sounds a little more exciting than Age of Sigmar, admittedly, but I
way
do
less
love the game
stressful.
you play.
My hairline wouldn't be receding as much.
Well, maybe afterwards you can go to the trampoline park to celebrate, depending on how this final round shakes out.
We'll see.
Well, that being said, thank you for joining us.
Thank
we'll
you.
catch you after the lunch break in round 5.
Sounds
Rest
good.
up, do
Yep.
some reading.
Yep, I got to set up for Player's Choice.
Awesome.
I'm all over the place.
Good
it
luck
seems.
to you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm going to see if we can grab Alan in here as well. All right, we are joined here by Alan Knowles in the commentary booth after a very bloody round 4 game on stream with a lot of bodies flying. How are you feeling post-game?
Feeling excited. It's a great game.
Good, awesome, glad to hear it. Now, obviously coming out of this round, you're 3-1, so you're heading into that final round. You're looking to recover, land firmly on your feet with a 4-1 finish.
Yep.
Is there anything you're really trying to avoid this weekend, matchup-wise? Anything you're looking out for in the field?
Honestly, it was like a lot of shooting, so I'm okay right now. This meta's been great because there's a lot of melee stuff, which is right where I want to be. But I have a lot of control with Bellacore too, so it helps me kind of dictate the pace of the game. This game, it was tough. Like he was an excellent opponent. We both played really cagey in the beginning, so he was doing the best to control it as well, just by keeping his distance. But I'm not sure who the next opponent would be. I'm up for anyone's familiar with Bone Reapers. Bone Reapers are nasty, and I haven't had a lot of practice against them.
Yep, we'll see. We have the other Bone Reapers player who is in the X1 bracket, still playing his game. We'll see how that shakes out. At the other undefeated table, the OCR Bone Reapers player did overcome Lumineth, so it will be OBR against Sean in the finals here.
Nice.
So you might be able to duck. It'll only be one of a plethora of X1 armies out there in the field, so we'll see how things go. Now, you did mention Bellacore, so I want to talk to you a little bit about your thinking with Bellacore going into this matchup. Obviously, the big control piece for you.
Yeah.
What were your priorities there? What were you thinking?
So the big thing is, by being like a one-drop army, that allows me to, for the most part, every game so far, like choose who goes first.
Yep.
So then you start thinking about like threat ranges, because by giving Sean the first turn, unless he did something crazy like teleport up a unit of pigs or whatever 9 inches away, and then he could make that Mighty Destroyer move. That's basically a turn that he is kind of waste. It's a turn where most of the stuff isn't doing anything, and that gives me a turn to get up closer to him. And then in like round 2, depending on who wins the prio, if he goes, I can Bellacore his most important unit, which in this case he had a good saturation of like threats, because like every unit was around the 200 point mark. They could all take a bunch of damage, do a bunch themselves. But Gobsprat was the guy I picked because his spells can be devastating, and it can be really fast too, and decent in combat.
Double move coming out of him as well. Obviously, always a threat for your Chaos Sorcerer Lord in the back line there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's my spellcasting savant's my grand strategy. So it's like I'm playing War Machine again. I want to keep my general alive. Period. So.
Understandable. Well, definitely a great game on stream. It was a pleasure to watch. I wish you luck going into the final round here, but thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth.
Pleasure. Thank you. I appreciated the soft droning of your voice in the background. It was very soothing.
Hopefully not too influential, just some white noise.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's just nice background noise.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
All right. I think lastly, before we close up stream for the round here, I'm going to see if I can grab Oscar for a pre-round 5 interview so we can get his thoughts going into the round 5 matchup of Big Wa into Luciark Bone Reaper. So I will be right back as I fetch Oscar from across the room here. All right, we are back and we have Oscar. So, Oscar, obviously, you overcame the Lumineth Realm Lords this round. Obviously, Dan Riker bringing Ionis Techless. We saw him on stream round 1 using that combination to great effect. Tell us about your game this round.
Sure. So I talked prior about how I like to keep on top of my opponent's rules and whatnot. I definitely spent a little bit of last night going through, strategizing, forming together my game plan, and making sure that I had ways to execute it. From there, I understood that Dan was going to drop his army in 2, so I was going to be able to counter him. And the important spells that I knew that I had to unbind, because I pretty much just saved all my primal magic for anti-magic rather than for trying to get my spells off. And I prioritized getting rid of his 5-up ward aura spell, as well as stopping the Eastern receiving for commands for a unit. Elves, as painful it is to take the total eclipse, they're very squishy and they will die like that. If you stop that ward. So from there, he moved cautiously. I was in full send mode. The bowling ball. Going through. Ionis was tapped for -1 hit from Catacross. It's one of Catacross's many War Scroll spells, his paragraph rules, of course, to make sure that Ionis was very much a pinning piece rather than an offensive pinning piece. Turn 2, Dan won the prio. He took it. Surprisingly enough, I thought he was going to give it to me. He chose to stay where he was with Techless. I threw Arcan towards a wide flank to go on a safari hunt for some wind chargers. And he largely stayed where he was. Tried to make sure, moved slightly, moved his wardens to try to protect the god. I went for Lid into the Maelstrom. I had only my Death Riders and my 2 foot dorks not charged. Everything else was able to get into their targets. Morghast got the strikes first after I rerolled the charge. And as their strike first, I did 12 damage to Ionis after his wards and his armor saves, making that dragon badly damaged. Cataclysm was in 3 inches, absolutely ate up the Wardens with his swings, and the Immortus Guard that I had were able to wipe out Techless in 1 swing. Once it was that, he moved out a unit of Wind Chargers. I dealt with the other ones with a Curse of Years. I got 9 mortal wounds.
That's pretty good.
So it was pretty hot. I must say. And yeah, I just executed the plan, removed so much of his army. He really only had Ionis, a pack of Wind Chargers left after bottom of 2, and I went prio. So we shook hands. Dan was a stellar opponent, very knowledgeable, knew what he was doing, in the zone, passionate. While it was a short game, it was very much a thinking game, and I couldn't have asked for a better round for an opponent.
Awesome, glad to hear it. So now you are 5-0, or 4-0 rather, going into the final round, hoping to come away out of this last round with a 5-0. Obviously, you and Sean have played this matchup a fair few times. I know I have practiced with you previously. I was talking before about how I think I have talked with you and Sean both so much about lists going into this, playing practice games, things like that, so I have the privilege of knowing kind of what both of you were thinking going into this event. But going into that final round now, you've talked a lot about your plan. What's the plan?
So it's lines of communication. So normally it's only 3 objectives. So it is helpful to me in that sense, as I like to blob and cast. I have, I would say, 3 mini hammers in terms of infantry, the 2 blocks of the mortis, the Death Angels, and Catacross, but only if he's near a hero. Sean's big thing that he has is that he's got a unit of reinforced Road Runters, a unit of reinforced Raiders, and ways to range wound protection. The Arm Boys, they got a 3-up save base. He's got 2 units of them, so he's by and large going to make this nice cast iron wall, put his heroes behind, put his pigs behind, unless he teleports them, and try to pick me apart because he has the advantage in secondary storm. So my game plan is very much threading a needle. I need to make sure that I be respectful of his ability to blizzard, as well as his ability to stare me in the face, as well as control the engagement as best I can, so he is not able to wipe out units by making sure all of his dudes get in. The Ragers and the Pigs got big old bases, and while they're 2-inch range, they are very much a threat. And I gotta ratchet down their damage as they have an uninteractable damage buff. So it's gonna be a tough challenge. I'm not thinking too much about it. I know Sean is a very well-skilled, knowledgeable opponent, a feisty opponent as well. You probably heard him screaming on stream. I'm going to have a great round 5.
Glad to hear it. Well, hopefully either way it shakes out, you both come away with a good experience. Sean actually just sneaking off camera into the booth to deliver a photo of his young daughter who is at home watching his gameplay, giving Oscar a pre-game guilt trip, as he has always done to all of us. So we will find out how things
Daddy,
go
did you
here.
win? No, Oscar beat me, Ellie. I'm so sorry to let you
Sean is my shorts.
Sean is laying on the heat early. With that, Oscar, go take some time to breathe, grab yourself lunch, and we'll gear up to catch you in an hour. I look forward to it.
Pleasure talking to you, Tyler.
All right, and with that, we are going to conclude our round 4 stream here. Round 5, we will be back with Sean O'Shaughnessy versus Oscar Sebastio. We'll have the Big Wa versus OCR Bone Reapers matchup. It will be on lines of communication, a 3-objective battle plan. So it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a fight in the middle. We're going to see who comes out on top. Oscar talking a lot there about the role of the Wargog and Merciless Blizzard. Oscar playing Mortis Praetorian, so he does not have the 2-up spell shrug that OCR Bone Reapers has terrorized people with throughout this GHB. But he does have an incredibly powerful countercharge mechanic that we saw him use on stream earlier with the Morghast to completely disable Ray Squire's Varangard early on in the game. So we'll see how things go. Both players have a game plan. They've both been working incredibly hard. Both very good friends. I expect it to be a tense game. I expect it to be well thought out and conducted, but I also expect it to be a jubilant affair where both players are going to be incredibly happy to be spending 3 hours with one of their good friends. So with that, I'm going to sign off for now. My name is Tyler Bushy. I'm the voice of the Golden Sprue stream this weekend, and we will catch you a little bit after 1 o'clock with the final round stream to crown our 5-0 player. Thank you, everybody.